With these prices, we'd barely be scraping by if it weren't for Dave. It's the
I'm sorry I had to find out like that. Hey, wait a minute. Can we...
Oh, y'all thought y'all had it all figured out. These niggas really thought they knew something. Okay. Let's go. They thought I was pussy, so I had to show 'em. I can't even see 'em, I don't really know 'em. Still, gotta put 'em in they place. Let these niggas and these bitches know they can't play in my face, yeah. I was made for this. Yeah, I got it out the mud, bet I paid for this. Look me in my face, you gon' feel this pain. Third out on my name, got up anyway. You gon' feel this pain, you gon' feel this pressure. Only way a bitch get in my lane is if I let her. You hoes copy paste, you lonely and fake. Just stay out the way, worry about your cake. Yeah. They thought I was pussy, so I had to show 'em. I can't even see 'em, I don't really know 'em. Still, gotta put 'em in they place. That these niggas and these bitches know they can't play in my face, yeah. They thought I was pussy, so I had to show 'em. I can't even see 'em, I don't really know 'em. Still, gotta put 'em in they place. That these niggas and these bitches know they can't play in my face, yeah. You can try to stop me, but I just cannot be stopped. Tried your best to top me, bitch, I'm sitting at the top. Took over your city, yeah, I got that shit on lock. Gotta pay me nicely if you want that shit to pop. Now you got me on beast mode. I've been quiet for a minute, demon time, no sleep, ho. I've been trying to keep it humble, why you speaking on me, ho? I'm the realest, I'm the baddest, beat the game with no cheat code, I did it. They thought I was pussy, so I had to show 'em. I can't even see 'em, I don't really know 'em. Still, gotta put 'em in their place. Let these niggas and these bitches know they can't play in my face, yeah. They thought I was pussy, so I had to show 'em. I can't even see 'em.
Hello, it's your girl Ari, aka Nadia Sabe, aka Lil G, aka Princess of the Darkness. All of that stuff. We're gonna get right into it. It's late. It's a late night episode. It is 10:12. We usually get this going at like 4 p.m. But it's been a long day. I was road tripping in Tampa. And yeah, we're back to just get this done for the week. And as you can see, I'm really tired, but we're going to push through it. We're not going to be reviewing any music this week. We're just going to straight get through all these stories and go from there. So we're going to start with industry updates. And yeah, let's just get right into it. So in the 14th edition of the IMS Ibiza, held at the Destino Pacha Ibiza Resort on April 26th through the 28th, the annual conference partnered with Midea Research and its team of analysts to center its focus on everything related to tech and entertainment in the global dance community. Presenting live on the first day, Midea Research MD and analyst Mark Mulligan shared the strong recovery for the dance music sector and the entire music industry, fueled at a 34% growth in revenue and up across all categories, with a total industry valuation at $11.3 billion, a positive trend of 16% higher than pre-pandemic. This figure marks more than a third in jump from the previous year, thanks to the growth in the creator economy and live sector, from areas like the resurgence in creator tool sectors to building in revenues from studios, DJ equipment, electronic music instruments, software, sounds, samples, and skills sharing. The increase in the number of creators who are embracing music tools and sharing knowledge in the industry, knowledge with others in the online communities, have brought a significant impact in the community. So I thought that this was really interesting because it shows how, like they said, the creator economy and content is driving these kind of numbers in the industry. So more than like fans driving sales for the product of music, they're actually seeing a driver in fans of the music purchasing things to create and to be a part of the scene more as a creator and as musicians rather than just audience members. So I think that that's really cool, and it's also a different way to look at the industry rather than so fan and consumer fronted, because the music industry does consist of more than just artists and acts themselves. It also has to do with the live sectors and physical sectors, manufacturing products and things like that. So just a story to kind of put that into perspective. But yeah, I thought it was interesting. Moving forward, we have a position change. So Universal Media Enterprises, the global catalog company of Universal Music Group, has announced Tim Plumley's promotion, effective immediately, to Vice President of Media and Artist Relations. Based out of Santa Monica, he will report directly to UME's Executive Vice President of Media and Artist Relations, Sujata Murthy. Next is something that I think a lot of, I know a lot of people are talking about, and is probably like the thing that people care most about right now. This is, and AI in general is like kind of what has been in the headlines when it comes to music industry news the most. But if you hadn't seen, Grimes put out a tweet that she is going, to allow anyone to use her voice for an AI-generated music, and that she will split royalties 50-50 with whoever the author is. A couple of artists have followed suit with her. A lot of people think this is a really smart move. I'm one of those people. I think, it's creating, an opportunity for a plethora of revenue to come her way for various reasons. It gives Grimes fans new music to listen to, you know what I'm saying? And then it also, is helping artists who, may be able to utilize these artists' fame in order to help kickstart their career and create a song that is able to, create traction for them. So I think it's really cool, and it's definitely really expansive. And it has opened the door and the question for a lot of people of, are labels being so heavy on AI right now because it's bad for the industry, or is it because it's bad for their bottom line? And especially because I think we're questioning a lot of the ways that AI is going to be used, and if it's going to be used in our benefit or for corporate benefit. So I think continuing, as I say this every single episode, something to continue to stay up to date on and continue learning about, and that's why we pretty much talk about it every episode as we get these new updates. But yeah, you should be making decisions on, once again, how you guys feel about these topics, how you guys feel about the actions that are being taken, and considering if you were in these artists' shoes or what you would do in this situation, because the chances are is that you are going to have to make decisions like that. But yeah, we'll talk about AI more next week. But yeah, moving forward, Hybe's revenue grew 44.1% year on year to 410.6 billion South Korean won in quarter one of 2023. That is according to a new investor filing published by the South Korea-based entertainment giant on Tuesday, May 2nd. Those quarterly revenues for Hybe's first quarter, which are the 3 months to the end of March, convert to approximately $306 million. Hybe, the home of K-pop stars 17, Tomorrow X Together, and BTS, reports that its key revenue driver in quarter one of 2023 was its artist direct involvement business engagement, which grew by 53.9% to 234.49 billion South Korean won, or $174.8 million. Okay. Next up, let me see. Okay. We're going to be talking a little bit about the Japanese market. So I'm going to go over to this story, actually, where I believe I'm actually missing the link. I might have to go back in and find it. But in short, Japan is an outlier in the streaming-dominated global music industry. Subscription music streaming was a $500 million plus business in the world's second largest recorded music market last year, reaching 75.62 billion yen, or $575 million US dollars. Yet, after 4 decades since CD's introduction to the market, it continues to thrive as the market's #1 music format. Warner Music Group Japan COO, I'm gonna butcher this, Kazuhiro Shimada, who joined WMJ in November of 2022 from Amazon Music Japan, explains that demand for physical music in Japan is so robust because the country has a really strong fandom culture. Fans showed their support to artists by buying their physical products, and this should be encouraged as it brings in a unique relationship between fans and artists, he says. I think this is really interesting. Obviously, #1, because there's such a stark contrast to the rest of the global music market and how Japan is consuming music. But I think, we should be studying how these artists and these companies interact with their audiences and their fans, just because I think all of us want to make more money, right? And there's more possibility for revenue or higher amounts of revenue when it comes to physical products, because they tend to be more expensive than something that is either digital, or when we're talking about streaming, we're talking about less than pennies on the dollar. So we should all be taking notes on how to increase our revenue, obviously, but more than that, the ability to have people spend their money is a sign that you have connected. People don't, spend money on stuff that they don't care about. And if you're able to make someone care about something, that you have made that connection. And that is what I think Japan and their artist to audience relationship is such a good case study on, because everyone is so connected to their idols and to who they are fans of, which is a continuation of what drives these kind of consumer practices. Okay. We have some legal news. We actually have a bunch of way more legal news than we usually have. So let's get started. Supporters of Georgia's music industry entered this year's General Assembly session optimistic lawmakers would renew state tax incentives to lure music producers and create a safe office dedicated to promoting the industry. But after a single committee hearing, nothing happened. The House Creative Arts and Entertainment Committee approved the measure to create a statewide music office, but it failed to reach the House floor for a vote, while the tax incentives bill didn't even get a committee vote. Both bills were the product of a joint House-Senate study committee that met last year to look for ways to grow Georgia's music industry. The panel recommended that lawmakers renew the existing music industry tax credit, which was due to expire at the end of the year, at 30 to 35% of a music production's expense, and lower the spending thresholds needed for producers of live shows and music recordings to qualify for the tax credit. So the reason why I put this in here, obviously for Georgians, this is something that you want to be up to date on, what your legislators are talking about, especially when it has to do with tax code and breaks and stuff like that. So just to talk about it a little bit, states will have these tax incentives, whether it be usually in the form of like subsidies, or in this case, what's able to be written off when it comes to equipment and production costs, right? But different states have different laws on this, and the more appealing that it is to each industry, the more likely that industry is going to go there in order to create work, because it's going to be cheaper, right? So obviously California has a lot of very California specific laws that have to do with zoning. Is a really, really, really good example of like, laws that are different state by state of like where you can film is a really good example. But yeah, so that is kind of what they're talking about. Like I said, I put this in here specifically for Georgians to know what's going on, but also for everyone to kind of realize that the government does play a role, in the economy in general, and that does not exclude the music industry, right? So there's things that we have to pay attention to in order to stay up to date. And yeah, if this pertains to you, or if it's something that you're interested in reading up more on, I'll mention it now. There will be a link to all the news link in the description or the comments to each of these videos, regardless of what platform that you're on, so you can read more into it and hopefully figure out what you can do in order to continue pressing your representatives about moving forward on this legislation, because obviously there are certain plans in order, and there's talk about it, but there's some type of disconnect that's not allowing things to move forward. Okay. Next, we're talking about Johnny Winters, and essentially there's been an ongoing legal battle about that has been between his former personal manager and bandmate Paul Nelson and the family of Winters' late wife, Susan, who died in 2019. Winter himself played at Woodstock in 1969 and produced albums for Muddy Waters, inducted into the Blues Foundation Hall of Fame, and has been involved with several Grammy-nominated records, has made a lot of money, blah, 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 blah. Nelson and so essentially what is going on is his bandmate Paul Nelson is in the battle with his late wife's family, and they basically are both saying that the other side is doing some fishy shit. Okay, so the in-laws, Winter's in-laws, are saying that Nelson, the bandmate, and his wife stole like a $1.5 million from Winter, the deceased music business. And Nelson and the wife claim that the relatives tricked a severely ill Susan Winters, the late man's wife, into signing over control of Winter's music. The case was scheduled to go on trial in a Connecticut court in April, but was rescheduled for September, so ways away. As much as it is. The battle will decide ownership of Winter's music catalog, recordings, royalties, and merchandise sales, and control over any commercial use of his songs. This case is about preserving Johnny Winter's legacy and vindicating and making sure the Nelsons haven't improperly taken the monies rightfully owed to the plaintiffs, said Timothy Diamond, the lawyer for Susan Winter's siblings. Bonnie and Christopher Warford. Nelson wants to be reinstalled as the beneficiary of Susan Winter's estate. The plaintiffs orchestrated a wrongful termination of Paul Nelson during a difficult time in Susan Winter's last year of life. The termination of Paul Nelson, the Nelsons said in a statement released by their lawyer, Matthew Mason, they said it was clear that both Johnny and Susan Winter wanted Nelson to be responsible for Johnny Winter's music and legacy. So this is, quite interesting. From the outside looking in, and obviously, not knowing these people and their history and what's going on, it makes sense for, the bandmate to, have, control over his kindred bandmate's art that he, simultaneously worked on. But we'll see, what happens and, what kind of proof is being able to be brought to the court. But in terms of like translating this for you guys and how you can and add this and learn something from this, is that it shows you how important paperwork is. And obviously shit happens because there was paperwork involved and maybe there was some shady stuff, maybe there wasn't. Somebody's lying, obviously, within the situation. But having things in place that have to do, with lawyers, having paperwork, and having backup plans and ways to confirm decisions that you've already made, and doubling down on making sure that your vision and your goals and what you want out of your money, your career, whatever it is completely understood by your team and the people that you are around and that you're involving in those things within your career have a full understanding of that and are 100% on board. Because if you have people who, are working for their own best interests, rather than, thinking about you first and foremost, and putting that above all else, that's where these situations like this can get really sticky. Obviously, Winters is not here to like be mad about the situation. You know what I mean? It's more of a turmoil that is happening. This is years and years down the line, where people are just, fighting about money. This is family drama. You know what I'm saying? Some stuff of like this is pretty inevitable, but you can put safeguards up to avoid, shit like this happening. Okay, moving forward. Over the weekend of April 15th, 2023, a video comprising a song called Heart on My Sleeve featuring the voices of superstar artists Drake and The Weeknd went viral, reaching several million views. After Universal Music Group, the representative for both Drake and The Weeknd, filed copyright claims, the video was removed from predominant music streaming services. This development represents several issues, primarily in copyright, but also potentially impacting a trademark rights and the right of publicity. First, assuming ghostwriter and not an AI did in fact write the song as an original work, it may be protectable as a musical composition. The performance of the song, on the other hand, raises more intricate questions. One presumes that in order to train the AI to mimic the voices of Drake and The Weeknd, ghostwriter uploaded into the AI system copies of works performed by the two artists. This act is an act of copywriting that would form the basis of a copyright infringement claim, as any work created by the AI system using the artificial voices would be considered a derivative work of the uploaded genuine songs created without a license. In addition to copyright issues, other rights may be implicated. Drake and The Weeknd may have claims of unfair competition in that this mimicking of their well-known voices amounts to a false designation of origin under 1125 of the Lanham Act. the California statutory right of publicity, California Civil Code 3344. It's been held to limit its protection of a person's voice to their real voice and not an imitation. However, it would not be difficult to foresee a reinterpretation or statutory amendment to overcome that limitation in the view of this mischief. In any event, the common right, Lord, gonna take a moment because I'm doing really good. I was doing so good. Okay. In any event, the common law right of publicity available in California and several other states may provide a cause of action. Copyright infringement is just one side of the coin when it comes to AI. Copyrightability is the other. The Copyright Office has recently issued a registration guidance clarifying that copyright applications are under a duty to disclose whether something or all of the elements of a work submitted for registration were created using AI. The office has stated that only elements created by a human author can be copyrighted. For example, if an application asserts that an AI program as the author of a work as a whole, the application will be rejected. This issue is being litigated currently on a suit by a computer scientist, Stephen Thaler, who's seeking to overcome a Copyright Office rejection of an application for a work entitled A Recent Entrance to Paradise that identified Thaler's creativity machine AI system as the author. So this has a lot of really interesting insight that I think they explained it very well. But some of the key points in this are, firstly, it's possible that if you write a song that you use AI to sing, that you can copyright the lyrics of the song. You can copyright that as a work. But you may not be able to copyright the song as a whole in terms of a performance and be able to collect performance royalties on that recording of that work, because it's generated by AI, which the U.S. Copyright Office, as we can see, has already put out a statement saying that the works must be created by a human in order to be accepted. The other thing that we can take away is the issue of right of publicity, as we talked about the specific California law. But folks have, if you may know the terms like name and likeness, having a right to your own name and likeness, I think is a better example of, or maybe a more an easier way to connect the message, but that being a legal issue that is coming into play. So we're continuing to see how, AI is challenging the industry. Obviously, we talked about the grime situation and how some artists are embracing it. Obviously, UMG, and we talked about why UMG and the label is not happy with it. Y'all can go back a couple of episodes to continue kind of delving into the conversation. But this is the update that we have. I thought that this was really good information and that it gives a couple of new perspectives. I also put another article in here about AI that talks about a lot of these same concepts that we talked about, and breaks down each of them a little bit more and in a very plain language. So I will go over these topics really quick. It's essentially 6 of the biggest problems with AI. So we have unauthorized data assets, meaning the works that are being fed to AI to generate new works are not licensed. So when we talked about in the last article that derivative aspect, that is what makes it illegal, is because it's an unauthorized asset, because you did not collect a license for it, and then you're putting it into something, the AI to learn something from it, and then therefore, as we talked about, creating a derivative. The next thing is outdated copyright law. Obviously, that is a very broad situation, but it puts it pretty simply. We don't have the tools in copyright law to match up to where we are in new developments in technology. Who gets paid? We talked about this a couple of episodes with do we owe some type of ethical obligation towards AI to make sure that they are compensated? Is the owner of the AI that authored a work the rightful owner or person who should be compensated from the work? How do we compensate, once again, those works that are input into generative service, AI generative programs in order to create something? Is there a way that we can make sure that we're compensating the authors of those works? It just gets very tricky, and once again, going back to us not having the infrastructure in our current copyright law to handle this. The next thing is a gray area genre. So I'm gonna read through this because I'm blanking right now. To complicate things, some people might not view deepfake music as entirely bad. Unlike deepfake images or videos that you may laugh at briefly before scrolling past on your phone, deepfake music is building a genre of its own. Some people compare it to the idea of fan fiction writing, a fun and creative way to pay tribute to an artist. It's a more positive view of what makes it difficult to rule out deepfake music as simply taboo. Just take a look at Holly Herdman's approach to AI. So essentially the AI music is its genre in its own, and DSPs or streaming sites are going to have to figure out if they're going to have to make their own decisions, whether that be, ethical based or monetarily based, if that's something that they want to allow on their platforms. Ethical concerns about race and identity. I think that that's something that's interesting to put on here. What kind of art are we creating, and can these systems have biases, which is something I've seen a lot, and the answer to that question, as far as I know, is yes. Especially when it has to do, and this is kind of a different topic, but when we get into like facial recognition, there's certain things with these technologies that if a biased person is making a program, the program is most likely going to be biased. But once again, something to continue reading up on, and I'm not going to speak more on it before I get a better understanding. And then finally, causing harm to artists, whether that be taking money out of artists' pockets, maybe, and that's really the most thing that we're worried about, because whether the situation is taking streaming revenue away, it's taking songwriting revenue away, whatever the situation is, it's most likely going to have to do with monetary, what's the word I'm looking for? Monetary stains, I guess, on the artist's career. All right, let's move forward. Okay. We've got two more legal stories. The second one is about Ed Sheeran. He's been in this legal battle for a while, and it has to do with his song called Thinking Out Loud, and it is against Marvin Gaye's estate for the song Let's Get It On. And essentially, what I pulled from this, there's a couple of things. Firstly, Ed Sheeran says that if he loses this trial, that he is quitting music, and that's just kind of done. And there's a statement in one of these articles that I think is really interesting, and it's kind of like an opinionated statement, but I think that it's something to think about. So, Professor Alan Williams, music business expert, stated, "What the Sheeran and other recent lawsuits are grappling with is the similarity of recorded performance, instrument arrangement, tempo, audio mix, etc. The songs are similar along more traditional elements such as the harmonies, but also most predominantly the arrangement more than the melody. It is the bass line that is nearly identical." Sheeran testified last week in federal court in Manhattan as his lawyers seek to have this case dismissed. So what they're trying to say is that rather than something being exactly spot on, there's just certain elements of the music that are the same, because in music, there's only so many chords that you can utilize, only so many instruments that you can utilize, and sometimes shit ends up sounding similar because, you use the same chords. You may use the same chords arranged in the same way, in the same BPM, you know what I'm saying? So that is kind of what they're getting across here, is that that's frustrating, firstly, because if you didn't rip something off and you really just to create something that happens to be similar to something else, that's extremely frustrating. And that is, what Ed Sheeran communicated when he said that he's done with music if he does kind of get pinned for this. So it's something to just think about and continue to, make your decisions on copyright and things of that nature, and obviously on this case specifically. But stuff like this sets precedent, you know what I'm saying? And copyright law is a very, well, I should rather say used to be a very black and white thing, you know what I mean? But obviously things are a-changing, and I think that that's why all around there's a lot of contention, frustration, and confusion around what's going on in just the sectors of intellectual property. But yeah, so the last story in that was actually about Ed Sheeran saying that he's quitting music if this goes through. So now we're ending the freaking podcast. that was interesting. But we've got a couple of artist accomplishments, a couple to be exact. Firstly, we have Shakira being honored in the Grammy Museum Experience. Yeah, dope shit. I think it's yeah. I'm sorry, y'all. Obviously, there's a disconnect, but that's good for her. And then we have Stonebwoy leads a busy top 100 Ghana list on Apple Music this week with songs from his 5th studio LP, Fifth Dimension album. The list, which is updated every day, ranks the most played music in Ghana. The album's lead single, Life and Money, featuring a Grammy Award-winning rapper Stormzy, currently peaks at number 1 on Ghana's Apple Music Songs chart. And then you have Far Away, Forget, Secret Lover, Therapy, More of You, Ava Womb Low, Run Into the Future, and I think that there were more that were on the Apple Top 100 and Top 10 in barely 24 hours after its release. So that's freaking big moves. I think all of us would love to be able to see that one day. Just open up Apple Music and Top 100 in your country. You basically got all the spots on the top 25. Like, I think that that's really just phenomenal. And an example of how, you don't have to be in the U.S. to be big. You can take over the world from wherever the freak you at, So, yeah, pretty short episode, y'all. I know we're not 100%. We're not 100%. We're keeping it with the consistency. We're making sure that we're getting stuff edited and getting stuff out and making sure that the information and the content is good. But obviously, it's late. I'm not at my best, but we're just going to continue bringing what we can every single week and just continue to elevate and grow and all that good stuff. I believe, see you guys next week. I could be lying because I'm going to be traveling a lot this month. I'm going to go confirm with PJ. We're going to talk about it. We're going to figure it out. I haven't said it yet, so I will say it now. Shout out to Inner Space Orlando for sponsoring the Run It Back podcast and being the reason why we are so fucking dope. All this space, all this stuff is just huge thank you to them. And yeah, what do we have coming up? The Baddie Brigade is going to be at the Playdate, which you can go ahead and follow the new Baddie Brigade Instagram. We're going to be doing media over at that community event. So if you would like an interview with us, if you just want to say hi, go check out that Instagram page and my personal Instagram page because I'll be posting stuff about that. And that's pretty much it for May. We just had the jam session. So if you want to check out the footage from that, go check out that playlist on our YouTube channel. And yeah, just stay tuned. June is going to be fun. We're going to start doing the jam sessions every other month. We're always open for booking when it comes to interviews and stuff like that. There's going to be a couple of changes when it comes to the radio show and things. So just stay tuned and stay tight for all of that stuff because we're still working everything out. So please give us grace. But other than that, y'all, I'm turning 20 in like 2 weeks. So send me love. Pray for me. And yeah, I will see you guys relatively soon. Before I leave, I will say, send me some new music, y'all. We're relatively low on submissions. If you have submitted to me and you're like, dang, this girl hasn't reviewed my music or she hasn't opened my message or whatever the case may be, send me another message. Be on my booty about it. Be on my tail, because I do talk to a lot of people a day and sometimes stuff just gets lost. So please make sure that you're practicing the art of the follow-up with me. All right. Goodbye. Have a nice night. I will see you soon.
Go back to the old me, watching all the happy kids in my rear view, crying hard on the phone, they can't hear you. Choke my lungs with the smoke or a necktie, clear the world of my name, it's a goodbye.